never imagined that a single day could change everything I had ever believed about my family. I woke up that morning feeling the usual warmth of home, but there was a heaviness I could not place. My daughter Sarah was unusually quiet. She smiled politely at breakfast, but there was a tension in her eyes that made my heart ache. I tried to brush it off, thinking perhaps it was just a passing mood. Little did I know that my world was about to turn upside down. I went about my day with a quiet unease. The chores seemed heavier, the sunlight less bright. I tried to distract myself with work in the garden, but every thought returned to her. I noticed her phone buzzing constantly, and she always kept it close like it was a secret from me. I tried to respect her privacy, telling myself that she was grown and had a right to her own life, but there was a strange sense of distance that I could not ignore. It was late in the afternoon when the call came. My heart skipped as the voice on the other end introduced himself as Michael. He said he was Sarah's husband, and I was stunned. I could not believe my ears. How could my daughter marry without telling me? I felt a cold wave of shock and confusion mixed with fear and sorrow. I could not speak. I just held the phone like a fragile bird and listened. He explained softly that they had been planning quietly because her father and I were always strict, and she wanted to avoid conflict, but the way it was said did not ease the storm inside me. I felt betrayed. I felt hurt. I felt a mother's pain that no words could describe. My mind raced back to the nights I had stayed awake worrying about her, planning for her future, hoping she would trust me with everything. And now she had made the biggest decision of her life. Without May tried to calm my thoughts, but tears were streaming down my face. My hands shook, and I could not even sit still. I felt as if the ground beneath me had disappeared, and I was floating in a sea of uncertainty. I decided to see her. I told Michael. I tried to imagine the woman she had become, the partner she had chosen, the life she was building without me, and each thought made my heart ache a little more. I drove slowly through the streets, remembering her childhood, the laughter in the garden, the scraped knees, the bedtime stories, and now it felt like those moments were slipping through my fingers forever. I arrived at her apartment and took a deep breath before knocking. She opened the door, and I saw a mix of guilt and fear in her eyes. I wanted to be angry, to yell, to demand answers, but all I could do was stand there frozen. She took my hand and led me inside, and I noticed how the apartment was warm and full of life, filled with photographs and memories that were new to me, but clearly important to her. She introduced me to Michael, and I studied him carefully. He was kind and gentle, and there was a respect in his eyes that reassured me slightly, but the hurt did not leave me. I could not understand why she had not trusted me enough to tell me. I sat down on the couch and tried to gather my words, but they stumbled and fell like broken leaves. She knelt beside me and whispered, "I am sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted you to be happy. I wanted to start our life quietly, and I feared you would not understand." I felt the weight of her words sink deep into my heart. I saw the love in her eyes, the courage it took to make her own choice, and slowly my anger began to soften, replaced by a sadness that was heavy but necessary. I realized that she had grown beyond the little girl I remembered. She had become a woman capable of making her own decisions, and perhaps this was a lesson I had to learn as well. I stayed with them that evening, talking and sharing memories. I asked her about her dreams, her plans, the little things that she had kept from me, and each answer was a thread that began to rebuild the bridge between us. I learned that Michael was patient and loving, that he had always supported her, and that together they had faced many challenges to be where they were now. My heart, though still tender, began to accept that happiness can come in ways we do not always understand. I listened more than I spoke. I allowed my tears to fall freely, and Sarah held my hand throughout, and I felt a connection stronger than any anger or resentment could destroy. We talked late into the night, sharing stories from my youth, her childhood, and even the moments that had once seemed insignificant now felt precious. I realized that family is not about control, but about love, trust, and understanding. I finally understood that my daughter had not left me. She had only invited me into a new chapter of her life, and it was up to me to choose love over fear. As the night ended, I hugged her tightly, feeling the warmth of her body and the love we shared. I whispered that I forgave her and that I was proud of the woman she had become. I also hugged Michael, feeling gratitude for the love he had for my daughter and the care he showed for our family. I left that night with a heart still heavy, but filled with hope. I knew that there would be challenges ahead, misunderstandings and moments of doubt, but I also knew that love could bridge any gap and heal any hurt. I drove home under The stars feeling a sense of peace I had not felt in days. I thought about all the mothers who had faced similar moments of shock and betrayal, and I realized that our children are our greatest teachers. They teach us patience, they teach us resilience, they teach us that letting go is sometimes the greatest act of love. I arrived home and looked at the empty house and felt gratitude for the journey I had taken that evening, for the lessons learned, and for the daughter who had grown into a strong, courageous woman who could follow her heart while still keeping me close in her own way. I sat quietly reflecting on the love that binds families together and the understanding that sometimes our children have to take steps we cannot foresee in order to find their own happiness. I realized that forgiveness is not just for them, it is also for us. It is for the healing of our hearts and the growth of our souls. I went to bed that night with tears still wet on my cheeks, but with a heart lighter than I had felt in weeks. I prayed silently for guidance, wisdom, and continued strength to nurture my family in ways that honored both my love and their freedom. In the days that followed, I visited often. We cooked together, shared stories, laughed, and cried together, and slowly the walls of misunderstanding melted away, replaced by a new bond deeper than before. I celebrated the milestones of their marriage, the little victories, the small joys, and even the challenges that came their way. I learned to step back and trust that the love I had given them had grown into something beautiful. I knew now that letting go does not mean losing, it means allowing it to grow. I watched Sarah with pride, seeing the woman she had become, and Michael with respect, seeing the man who stood beside her, and I realized that life is full of surprises, some harsh, some beautiful, but all teaching us to love more freely and to hold each other closer than ever before. I understood finally that my daughter had not hidden her life for me to hurt me. She had done so to protect our love from fear of conflict, and now I could embrace it fully with open arms. I walked through each day remembering the lessons of that night, the power of love, the strength of forgiveness, and the importance of family bonds, and I promised myself to always listen to their hearts, to respect their choices, and to hold them with the tenderness and warmth that only a mother can give. I knew there would be more challenges, more moments that tested our love, but I also knew that together we could overcome anything, and that nothing could ever replace the bond that comes from understanding, empathy, and unconditional love. I looked at the stars each night and whispered a prayer of gratitude for the daughter who taught me to let go, and for the journey that reminded me that love is patient, love is kind, and love always finds its way home.